In your life a meaning. Powered by Christ Embassy Abuja Zone.
Now. It's the bomb, yo. Wake up and don't sleep on a bicycle.
Next. This is Eagles Morning Rise, where you get inspired,
Updated, talk sports,
and discuss topical national issues.
all served hot like coffee.
Yummy.
This is gonna be the best day of my life.
Eagles Morning Rise with
Iheanacho Prince.
6 a.m.
to 10 a.m. every weekday
on your number one radio experience. You can count on Eagles 102.3 FM.
Good morning, and thank you so much for staying with us on your radio experience. You can count on. It's 3 minutes past 9 o'clock. Apologies. We are about to get into the conversation this morning on Eagles Outlook, and today we'll talk about the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2021 delay, the ASSENT delay. We're talking about that this morning with Barrister Umar Saad Hassan, who will be joining us via phone this morning. But before we get into the conversation proper, we'll check out what's trending in the news. And in trending news stories this morning, President Muhammadu Buhari has stated that providers of substandard fuel must be held accountable. The president gave the directive on Thursday in a statement signed by his senior special assistant to media and publicity, Garba Shehu. The president issued the statement issued the statement following what it called issue of petroleum product shortage linked to the inadvertent supply of products of foreign origin into the Nigerian market. President Buhari ordered the producers and providers of consumable products be held accountable for substandard services and products sold by them. And similarly, transporters of premium motor spirits, PMS, popularly called petrol, have said that the nationwide scarcity of PMS was partly due to the gradual halt in the operations of truck owners. According to them, many PMS transporters have stopped transporting the commodity, while more will soon park their trucks if the government remains adamant in refusing to increase the freight rate for transporting petrol. The national president of the Nigerian Association of Road Transport Owners, Yusuf Othman, told journalists in Abuja that the payment of freight for petrol was regulated by the Nigerian Midstream Downstream Regulatory Authority. And Governor Babagana Sulum of Borno State has said that over 3,000 or 30,000 terrorists have surrendered to the military. Speaking with the State House correspondents after meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa Abuja on Thursday, Zulum expressed optimism that the menace of Boko Haram will end very soon. The governor said this would become a reality with the support of the federal government. And now to our talking points this morning. The presidency has assured that President Muhammadu Buhari is keen on signing the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2021 into law after days of speculations that have raised concern about the fate of the bill. It said the president is consulting with the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami and other stakeholders to assent the bill. About 9 days after the transmission of the reworked version of the bill to Buhari by the National Assembly, there had been nothing to show that the president was planning to sign the electoral bill. And now let's get to the conversation, people. The electoral bill has been in the eye of the storm in the last few months, starting with the controversy about the direct primaries or indirect primaries. And also started with the transmission of electoral results electronically. And then we got to the point where we're talking about, direct or indirect primaries. The president, said it on national television that if that section of the bill, was reworked, he would sign the bill. Now we're still talking about, the Attorney General coming out to talk about, personal interest in the bill, saying if there are personal interest in the bill, that the president would not sign the bill or assent the bill. We're talking about this with Barrister Umar Saad Hassan, who is a legal practitioner, joining us this morning. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us, Barrister Hassan.
Thank you, Mr. Iheanacho. Good morning.
It's good to have you join us. Now, let's begin the conversation with, the fact that Nigerians do not trust that they would have a new electoral bill going into the 2023 elections. How does that meet you?
Yeah, actually, there's a problem. It's a trust issue regarding vis-a-vis Nigerians and this government. Because some of the changes, the alterations made by this amendment bill are actually positive. Because the issue of direct primaries closes options to political parties to conduct primaries how they see fit. Because direct primaries basically restrict their options by saying everyone in the party can decide who the candidate should be. But then President Buhari is saying he wants a more open option base. He wants indirect primaries. He wants the option of direct primaries as well. And he also wants the option of consensus candidates. Hello?
Yes, we're with you. We're with you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this, in a real sense, makes it is a very positive development because parties now have more options. They have a chance to conduct their primaries however they deem fit, instead of restricting them to direct primaries, which some have actually said is very, very costly and impracticable considering the reality on ground. So, but the basic thing is Nigerians don't trust this government. They don't at all, because under this government, we've had 3 of the worst elections ever in our history. The Osun rerun election, Kano rerun election, and the Kogi gubernatorial election. And the president has still gone on to speak to an INEC chairman who is without a doubt the worst this country has ever seen.
Why do you say so?
So no matter how good the intentions are, Nigerians still don't have it. They don't trust this government, and there's a very, very, very good basis for distrust.
Now, you mentioned something. Let's talk about the independence of INEC. Nigerians are concerned over time as to why the chairman of INEC has to be, appointed by the president. Why can't we have a situation where the institution runs on its own as an independent body? We say it's independent, yet someone has to appoint, the commissioners and all, and even the chairman of this body. Why don't we have a situation where a person climbs up the ranks and becomes the chairman based on, the institution and how it runs itself?
Yes, I think that is a very deep line issue because it relates directly to the provisions of the Constitution. And the Constitution clearly spells out the functions of INEC. And that Constitution also, which has been very much criticized, as you well know, also provides that the president has to appoint an INEC chairman, which in my opinion is very, very wrong. Because even countries, in a lot of countries where electoral bodies seem to be under the grasp of the government, they at least try to depict them as independent. But in Nigeria here, we rarely even pretend these bodies ought to be independent. Because we have a president that is appointing, we have card-carrying members of political parties being nominated as commissioners and such. So I think basically the issue is a very deep line one, in the sense that he has to go to the amendment of the Constitution itself, our Constitution, which provides for how the appointment of INEC chairman is. And I think on the list of reforms, most reforms being bandied around by advocates of amendment, that features very prominent the issue of chairman. Because even with a well-run INEC, some of these issues are like electronically transmitting election results can be done without the National Assembly. But most people don't know that. Section 78 of our Constitution grants INEC power to not only conduct elections, but to direct and supervise. They are to direct how those elections are conducted. So if INEC on its own stands up today as a fully independent body to say, look, we want to electronically transmit results, it is well within the power granted to it by our Constitution, the 1999 Constitution. But then we have a body that is more or less under the control of the executive, and appointees that have been appointed by the executive, whom they of course have to please. So everything they try to make a charade of is just to please their masters. But the issue of electronically transmitted results shouldn't actually be even a huge issue, because it is very, very clearly spelled out. Section 78 says INEC can supervise and direct conduct elections however it sees fit. So I think the issue of appointees is actually a very, very fundamental problem and a huge barrier to the fair and free conduct of elections in Nigeria.
Very well said. We'll continue the conversation in a bit. We'll be talking more and looking at the situation where almost election matters end up in court. After every election, we have court cases flying around the place. Many people are saying even lawyers at this point are cleaning up their chambers because they're expecting that in 2023 there will be litigations all over the place. How do we get to stop all of this? We also currently there's still litigations as regards the 2019 elections. There's a new suit in court, seeking to dismiss, seeking to replace Buhari with Atiku, saying that some of the documents he deposited with INEC were not correct, were false, and some of the claims made were false. All of that we've continued to battle with or grapple with as a nation. We'll talk about that in a bit. Keep it with us.
Let's spice up your day. Tune into a breath of fresh air. It's all fun and games until it gets extra and better. 102.3 Extra, weekdays 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. with Olije. Cheers to something new.
It's Tongue Twister Friday.
What's going on, y'all?
Repeat it phrase 5 times real fast without mispronouncing any word.
Fantabulous.
Sell seashells by the seashore. Sell seashells by the seashore.
I used to wash my Irish fish, but I used to wash my Irish fish, but I used to wash my Irish fish, but I used to...
You were like my Irish fish wash.
How fast do we have this?
Goggles, gobble, gobbling, goblins.
You don't know why it's going on.
Give it a try on the Friday Traffic Rush at 5 p.m. on Eagles 102.3 FM.
Eagles Morning Rise. Eagles Morning Rise with
Iheanacho Prince.
18 minutes on 9 o'clock. This is Eagles Outlook on your radio experience. You can count on. You can join the conversation. Feel free to jump in with your 2 cents. Call 090-7353-0044 and 090-8766-8888. Send us a message on 090-9705-4450. We're talking this morning the delayed assent to the Electoral Bill 2021, the issues surrounding that bill and all of it. We're talking this morning with Barrister Umar Saad Hassan, who's joining us via phone. Join in as well. We'll bring in this caller quickly and get back to the conversation. Hello, good morning.
Hi, Prince, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
I'm very well. TGIF, Paul, it's good to have you.
Fine, this is Paul.
Go ahead, Paul, let's hear you.
Yeah, morning to Barrister. I want to agree with him on all the issues that he has raised, especially now that this electoral bill is being dragged on back and forth. For president to sign an electoral bill is like heaven is going to fall. I don't really understand. The question I keep on asking is these reforms in these electoral laws pass through the National Assembly, first reading, second reading, public hearing. And I'm sure the executive were also invited for the public hearing and some other NGOs. Why did they raise all these issues at the hearing? Why is it coming at this time that for them to sign? First of all, they complain about direct primary. Now they have expunged that one. And for the president to sign, they are coming up, presidency is coming to tell us that if they find out that there's a vested interest, they will sign. Who is having the vested interest? The same politician. So if they should look at, they should weigh the interest of all Nigerians. So many Nigerians are in support of this electoral bill. And the problem we keep on having with all these appointments, like what he said about appointing, or what he said about appointing the Independent Electoral Commission chairman by executives. You see, when you look at the laws establishing most of these institutions, they are laws, old laws, that they throw open from the executive position, that is from either level 16. They will leave it as a political appointment. So you can go through the ranks when you get to 15. If you get a general manager in a parastatal, you thank God, because the position is thrown out. So a lot needs to be done. All these laws, they need to be repealed. They need to be repealed so that they can change. If you go through the ranks, you spend 35 years. Who say you can manage that particular institution? So a lot of things are wrong in this country. We need to change so many things. And then for them to know that, for us to know that these people have real interest, they are so greedy. That's why they are dragging their legs in signing this thing. Because at the end of the day, if you have a credible election, it will not favor them. Because they are used to twisting and so on and so forth. That's why they are dragging back and forth. So the presidency should know that all the presidency or any other institution is all about the people. If you cannot please the people, you cannot do what the people want, it means you are not a good leader. The presidents who are sent to this bill, let's do away with it and move forward from here. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling, Paul. Appreciate your thoughts. Now, Barrister Hassan, let's look at some of the other issues coming out from this bill. Recently, we saw that one of the clauses in that bill, the controversial one at the moment, which is why I think the Minister of Justice is saying, talking about vested interest, is the clause that says that cabinet ministers would have to resign their positions at least 6 months before primaries, their party primaries. Do you see that sailing? Do you see that, that clause? Do you think that clause makes sense?
Yes, actually it does. It makes absolute sense. Yeah, it makes absolute sense to me personally, because I don't see a reason why someone would stay in office till the eve of his election for keeping office. Because in Sierra climes, that is how it's done. In other places, in developed countries, you are in office and you want to run for another office, there's a limit. There's a time limit within which it's specified, within which you have to leave your office and then go ahead and contest for elections, because the people deserve the very best of you. You are an elected official or an appointed official to serve the people. So it will be very unfair on your own part to be distracted by election issues and trying to elevate to the detriment of the average citizen of that country whom you are appointed or elected to serve. So that is, in my opinion, the very basic rationale behind such a clause. Even in well-developed countries, that is the very basic reason they first give. You are not to be distracted in the carrying out of your duties to the people of the nation. So I think that that clause is very good, because aside in Nigeria now, putting it in Nigerian perspective, aside giving your principal time to maybe aside also giving your political rivals time, which is the reality on ground, to dig up debt, to see if you've been involved in any malpractice, to see if you've been involved in corruption, which they can put forth to the people and show them why they don't deserve you or why you don't deserve to serve them. I think it's very good for me. Aside, of course, the very fundamental reasoning that you are not to be distracted by seeking to advance yourself at the detriment of the Nigerian people.
Now, let's make this make sense. So the presidency has said the president is consulting with the Minister of Justice and all the stakeholders, probably consulting with the same ministers. And this clause directly speaks against these ministers being in office, you know, if they're seeking office, if they're seeking any political office.
Yes.
The president is consulting the people who this clause directly affects. Do you think that they would agree or allow the president sign this bill against their, personal or vested interest as it is?
Mr. Iheanacho, you know the problem with these ideas we see every day and the proposed enactment and the sorts are actually things that we've been discussing over time for years now. We've been talking about these issues for years. So it's just live with the government to actually just bring them to life and maybe take credit for it. But these are issues that we know have been taking us for some time now. The president ought to have a heart of his own. He ought to have a mind of his own. So if our president is going to resort to them, then it's a pity. If he has to resort to them to make decisions that are groundbreaking decisions that will alter our lives, our destinies, then I think it just tells you the extent of our problem. These people ordinarily ought to bear that in mind, that they have to protect their own personal interests. So I think when that clause of stakeholders comes in, he has to go past his appointees, he has to go past cabinet members, and maybe include the NGOs regarding elections, the NGOs advocating for good governance, the NGOs advocating for credible elections, and the sorts. Let them give him an idea. Let them give some insight as to what we stand to gain by bringing that clause to life. But for a president to absolutely rely on cabinet members, and like it's the norm now, that is the wide perception people have of him, and it's very, very sad. Because they actually have justifiable basis. Some people actually mock, say the president isn't even in charge of this country, and he has never been since 2015. And of course, there are very, 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 very credible basis for thinking such. So I think he doesn't have to depend on cabinet members or anything. This is a very clear-cut thing. These are issues we've been raising over time. These are things being done in developed countries, in Senate countries. There's a question within which you have to leave office if you want to contest an election. So I think it's a no-brainer for me, absolutely. So I just feel it's sad that we have a president whom is more or less being whom has sadly subjected himself to the wills and interests of the people around him. It's sad.
Now let's talk about the fact that most elections end up with, court rulings. The courts ends up deciding who wins an election even after we've wasted or invested so much resources in conducting elections. At the end of the day, everything just goes back to the courts, and the courts decide who becomes or who takes office. Isn't that a sad narrative that at this point in our national life, 60-something years after, and over 20 years of democracy, we still rely on courts to determine who becomes, a political office holder in this country?
Yeah, that is very, very sad, Mr. Iheanacho, I have to say. Because I think the worst we've ever had was in 2019. A lot of elections were decided in courtroom. A lot of them. And I think we even had a case in Imo where the fourth placed candidate has today been sworn in as the governor of Imo. Aside that, the total votes on paper supersedes, is more than the number of registered voters for that particular election. So how can you make sense of that? So the thing is, it all boils down to how these electoral bodies comport themselves, how they conduct these elections, and how they transmit results and such. And it's very sad what INEC has done in the last 5 years. And it's more pathetic to consider that our own president has decided to retain this man after his first tenure of 5 years as INEC chairman, despite the massive failure. Because the issue of the issues that came up during 2019, particularly, were issues that in some cases were unprecedented, because we saw how voters were intimidated, openly harassed, and we saw how the judiciary itself, whom happens to be the last resort of the common man, as we like to put it, has also itself conducted itself in a manner that is highly despicable. So it's very sad. I know people say we've taken 5-10 steps backward under Buhari. But I think the issue of election highlights pretty much how far backwards we have gone under this administration. Because the elections held have been more or less a charade in a lot of cases. We used to have election cases go to courts, but in this case, the decisions of the courts themselves and some of the cases that have been presented before these courts themselves are very alarming. Because the interest of people in government, the interest of the ruling party, the interest of the and sorts have come to play in such a way that people see these elections and they've lost total hope in INEC. They have no hope whatsoever in INEC because people just want to go with the flow and see how elections will turn out. You play your part as a patriotic Nigerian and go out.
Now, just to counter that argument, the Anambra elections has been adjudged to be very free and fair, and that election was conducted by INEC under the same chairman.
Yes. No, yeah, actually, there've been a couple of good elections. What I'm saying is the extent of just how bad the bad ones are is very scary. Because take for instance what happened in Kogi State. Take for instance what happened in Kano State, the rerun election in Kano State. Take for instance Osun State, the rerun election in Osun State, when it was left between the candidates of the ABC and those of the PDP. Take also for instance what happened in Imo, where we all saw the outcome of the elections via court ruling.
But that was the court's decision.
Yes, that was the court decision. But in the conduct of itself, the results that were presented before the court themselves by INEC and the purported results that were collated, the results that were gathered and given to each candidate, also formed the reason why the court could hide behind certain things and give such a ruling regarding that election. Do you understand?
We get you.
Because sometimes aside the court had some facts placed before it. he had some facts placed before it: election results, number of registered voters, and the sort. So when you say these are the number of registered voters in an election, and this is what each one scored, and then you take it there, and then maybe eventually the number of registered voters supersedes the election, the number of votes. The number of votes garnered by all candidates supersedes the number of registered voters. And then you are quiet about it. Then of course, people have to look at you. The bulk of the blame will also lie to some extent on your own part. INEC has conducted a few elections under this government. I am not disputing that. There have been a couple of good elections, but then just how bad the bad ones were is what I'm trying to point out. It's
right.
Very, very bad.
Very well
because
said.
To some extent now, we just want to vote, but under Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, we want to vote and hope. There's no point, we are optimistic of having a better government in 2023 and everything. But we are still left at the mercy of these people at whatever they decide, however they decide to run these elections.
All right, the conversation continues here on your radio experience. You can count on. We're taking your thoughts in a bit. Join in, call the numbers 09073530044 and 09087668888. Send messages to 09097054450. Don't forget to watch us live on YouTube and Facebook at Eagles FM Abuja. Join the conversation there as well. I'll be taking your thoughts immediately after this.
102.3 Abuja.
When the sun comes up, you know that it's time for the Sunny Side Show. With the Sunny Side Show crew, Itodo and Nene.
My name is Itodo.
And my name is Nene.
Oh, wait, am I talking like this?
On the sunny side of things, weekdays 2 to 6 p.m. The Sunny Side Show. Tune in, you know you definitely want to.
Has anyone told you you can talk about your business on radio for just 15,000 naira? Get a chance to talk your business for 25 minutes on The Entrepreneur. Mondays to Thursdays, 3 p.m. on Eagles 102.3 FM, Abuja. For more inquiries, call 090-9984-4433. 090-9984-4433. The Entrepreneur. Talk your business for just 15,000 naira. This promo runs from February 1st to April 30th. Hurry now.
Eagles Morning Rise. Eagles Morning Rise with
Iheanacho Prince.
9:41 is the time. Thank you for staying with us on your radio experience. You can count on keep your calls coming in now. 09073530044 and 09087668888. Send a message to 09097054450. Head on to our socials as well at Eagles FM Abuja on Facebook and YouTube, Instagram, and any other platform to be a part of the conversation. Now, we've been talking with Barrister Umar Saad Hassan on the subject, the delayed assent to the Electoral Bill 2021. The president hasn't assented to the bill. It's been many days after the reworked version was sent to him, and Nigerians are still hopeful, anticipating the announcement of the president's assent to that bill. Seems it may never come. Some people have said that assent may never come, but then we keep our fingers crossed and believe that it's going to happen. Now, Barrister Hassan, let's go to talk about this case in court. We're not trying to get into any form of contempt in court, but then the Civil Society Observatory Board of Incorporated Trustees of the Civil Society Observatory for Constitutional and Legal Compliance has filed a case against the president and the APC in the Court of Appeal, and they are alleging that the president deposited a false affidavit in the 2019 general elections, and on that grounds, they're praying the court to sack the president and swearing his the opposition candidate Atiku Abubakar in the 2019 general election. As it is, do you think that at this point, this kinds of we should be seeing cases like this in court, seeing as how this administration has just about 16 months in office? Now, some people are saying, some political analysts are saying that, well, it may be a tactic to have another northern president come 2023. How does that reach you?
Yeah, actually, I've had that. I've had a lot of that in the last few days, and honestly, to be very fair, you can't blame anyone for thinking such, because judging by appointment and response to critical issues, we have come to form a valid basis about President Buhari's favored 97% in quote. The 97% he promised to place over the 5% that did not vote him. And ultimately, the 97%, like we all know, primarily captures where the president himself is from and his region and his tribe. So one can rule that out. One can rule that out, and one can also take solace in the fact that ultimately there will be a plethora of lawsuits challenging the outcome if by any chance it goes against President Buhari and is ordered by the Supreme Court to vacate office. There will be a plethora of lawsuits that will spring up challenging from the APC and several other people, challenging the validity of a judgment that does not require a fresh election. Because there will be a lot of outcry and people will file lawsuits in that regard. Because that is one thing the average Nigerian has to bank on, just in case this is a gimmick, like you put it, for power to stay in the north. I think we'll take solace in the fact that everybody will rise up. And also via that same channel which the president is sacked, there will be an outcry and there will be issues, there will be litigation to ensure that we hang on for proper elections to hold next year. If it means stalling the process and filing injunctions, I am very, very sure there are Nigerian lawyers that will do that for free. Stalling the process and filing stay of execution and the rest to delay giving life to that judgment.
Now let's talk about zoning. Do you think that we should have the zoning in the Constitution? Just to give it, yes. Because we talk about, many have said, well, in the interest of fairness, we should have, zoning or rotational presidency. Some others are saying, no, we shouldn't have that. But it seems like the voices that support the rotational zoning seem to be a little louder than that of those who do not support it. So if that's the popular opinion, why do we have that in our Constitution to say at every instance, at every point, the presidency should be zoned or shifted, to different zones?
Okay. Basically, the issue of zoning is one that is a very tricky one in relation to the circumstances on ground. Because personally, I am a northerner from the northern part of the country, but I feel the southeast should produce Nigeria's next president in the best interest of national unity. Because That is my personal opinion now. But the issue of zoning and rotational presidency, from a broader you have a president and then
Barrister Hassan, we can hardly hear you now. I don't know what's happening. It seems like the network is zeroing you in. It's breaking out. Let's try to reconnect with you as we try to wrap up some of the conversation. Right, we'll try to reconnect with Barrister Hassan in a bit. You can be a part of the conversation now. Call 090-7353-0044 and 090-8766-8888. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, my brother, sir.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. What's your name, please?
God bless you.
God bless you too.
This is Evangelist Daniel Kolo.
Evangelist
Daniel Kolo.
Okay, Evangelist Daniel, go ahead. Let's hear you, please.
I greet my brother there that is speaking to you. Yes, honestly, for the issue of zoning.
First, Hassan, we'll get back to you, please. We'll get back. Go ahead.
Okay, for the issue of zoning, it's very, very important we should know where we stand on zoning matter. And even if it is zoned to South, we should be sincere to ourselves. The South have done exactly 14 years since the democracy in 1999 to date. And there are a lot that claim they haven't, but they decide the election of this country as just 10 years. And when you look at it, the inception of PDP, it was South that rules. Northern just have opportunity of 2 years. Is that fairness? If we should talk of justice. Then now, North Central has never produced since 1999 to date. Northeast has never produced since 1999 to date. Southwest has produced 8 years. South has produced 6 years. The Southeast should wait till at least one zone has done in North, either North Central or Northeast, then it can go to Southeast.
Are you saying that the Southeast has produced a precedent since 1999?
They haven't.
So
I'm talking of Northeast. So in 3 zones that we have in South, 2 have done. Then in 3 zones we have in North, 1 has done. It has never gone out other zones. So to justify the issue, it must be North 2023. After 2023, it can go to Southeast. That is fairness and justice. Then for issue of Atiku, we know everybody know that Atiku win the election in 2019.
You can't say that. That's not what INEC says, and that's not what the court says.
Forget what INEC. The INEC we have now, they are not INEC.
That's not what the INEC says, and we would stick with the official figures.
Forget the INEC we have now.
Thank you very much for calling. We'll stick with the official declarations. Even the courts made a declaration, so we'll stick with that and leave that there. Now, Barrister Hassan, just to some of the thoughts, you were talking about zoning. Can you use some of your thoughts on that before we close? Or before that, let's bring in this caller, please. Hello, good morning.
My prince, just a quick one.
Please.
My brother that just called. When you say north is north. When you say south is south. Now let us be sincere to ourselves. I'm aligning myself with the barrister in the studio. Let the South kids produce their own. Let them produce the next one. Let's have a balance.
Okay.
If we have got it from the north, how many presidents have you had in the north? How many of them had in the south? Now the Southeast has always been there. They have never taken it. Let them go and do it. When it comes out, when it comes round, it can go to the northeast or north central. Let us be sincere to ourselves.
All right, Paul. Thank you very much for your thoughts. Barrister Hassan, please, some of your thoughts so we can close. Yes.
This is a very trying time for Nigeria because we've been divided. We've been made to feel so disunited by this administration that we seem to be starting from scratch. Whatever we achieved previously in terms of national unity and cohesion, we have to start all over again, because we are seeing some people being treated unfairly and some being favored above others. So in the interest of national unity, like I pointed out earlier, I don't know if that point came out. Personally, I would advocate for the presidency to go to the Southeast in 2023 in the interest of national unity.
All right.
But from a broader outlook, the issue of zoning and rotational presidency should never ever come up.
Okay.
Talk more of being inserted into the constitution.
All right.
Because the reason for that is at some point you might see a better candidate in very, very simple terms now. The reason for my point is you might see a candidate from another region whom is the best, like Sheyi Makinde could be available, say, in 2027. And if at that time maybe you've zoned it to the Middle Belt or maybe the Southwest, I beg your pardon, the Middle Belt or the Northeast, then it automatically rules him out for service. And then you have to stick with someone for probably another 8 years.
All right.
So that is my position on rotational presidency and so.
Mr. Omar Saad Hassan, thank you so much for talking with us this morning. Appreciate your time.
Pleasure is all mine.
Right, and this is where we drop the anchors on the program this morning. Eagles Outlook. Oli J takes over in a bit. Good morning, Oli J.
Hi, good morning.
It's Adult Friday.
It's Friday, yeah. Welcome to Friday. We're excited. And the weather is harsh, and we have cold, and my voice, and everything
just...
Honestly, I actually thought yesterday, I started sneezing overnight. I'm like, what is going on?
I sneezed. At some point, I started to feel like I had fever or something, and I rejected it.
We are spiritual people. But anyways, I will get better. I have the vitamin C here.
Yeah, you should. You will.
Exactly.
You will. Ladies and gentlemen, stay here. Your radio experience you can count on. My name is Iheanacho Prince. Big shout out to Funshaw for putting out some pictures. DJ takes over shortly. Business news is up next.
Eagles 102.3.
Welcome to Eagles 102.3 News Beats. Here is the business news beats. The Naira continued its downward trend as the dollar was sold for 417.51 Naira at the official market on Thursday. This was contained in the data obtained from the Central Bank of Nigeria official website, showing the exchange rate result and its monthly moving average on Thursday. According to the data, the dollar sold for 417 Naira 51 kobo, while it was bought at 416 Naira 51 kobo. With these developments, the Naira took a dip in the devaluation against the US dollar 24 hours after it recorded a slight gain at the sports market segment. However, the FMDQ website where Forex is officially traded, in its own data showed the local currency closed at 416 Naira 67 kobo to a dollar at the close of trade on Thursday. Transporters of premium motor spirits, popularly called petrol, on Thursday said the nationwide scarcity of PMS was partly due to gradual halt in the operations of truck owners. According to them, many PMS transporters have stopped transporting the commodity, while more will soon park the trucks if the government remains adamant in refusing to increase the freight rate of transporting petrol. The national president of the Nigerian Association of Road Transport Owners, Yusuf Othman, told journalists in Abuja that the payment for freight for petrol was regulated by the Nigerian Downstream and Midstream Regulatory Authority. Othman said still these payments are received by transporters in arrears, usually 3 to 5 months after the products are delivered. The Central Bank of Nigeria has revealed that it will stop the sale of foreign exchange to deposit money banks by the end of the year. According to the CBN Governor Gordon Emefiele, banks must begin to source their forex from export proceeds, hence the need to support non-oil exporters in the country. He pointed out that the decision was in line with the Apex Bank's new commitment to boost the country's foreign reserves through proceeds from non-oil exports. He made this known at a press briefing on the launch of the bank's new forex repatriation scheme, RT200, held after the Bankers Committee meeting on Thursday in Abuja. According to the governor, RT200, which stands for Raise to $200 billion, is a set of policies, plans and programs for non-oil exports that will enable the country to generate $200 billion in forex repatriation exclusively from non-oil exports over the next 3 to 5 years.
Telecommunications companies have resumed NIN SIM data verification services across the country after days of downtime due to technical glitches on the portal of the National Identity Management Commission. It was earlier reported that after a protracted face-off with NIMC over the directive to migrate to the VNIN platform following a technical glitch on the primary NIN platform, telcos on Wednesday began preparations and arrangements to reconfigure their systems in line with the earlier directive by the Identity Commission. According to a source at the MTN outlet in Lagos, telcos have resumed SIM-related services. The source confirmed that SIM-NIN-related services have resumed in most outlets across the country, although a few outlets were yet to fully configure their systems to make use of the VNIN platform. The president of Cocoa Farmers Association of Nigeria, Deola Adegoke, has said the federal government has been losing about 60 billion naira annually because of its refusal to collect living income differential for cocoa producers. He said this on Thursday during a workshop organized in Abuja by Agricultural Policy Research in Africa in conjunction with the Department of Agricultural Economics, University of Ibadan, with the theme Cocoa Commercialization in Nigeria, Issues, Prospects and Policy Requirements. According to him, there is a need for government to follow international best practices that support the production of cocoa in the world. Adegoke said the foreign exchange deficit being experienced at the moment could only be solved by the cocoa economy. And finally, the House of Representatives Committee on Public Accounts on Thursday asked the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning to present evidence of approval for the over 17 billion naira extra budgetary spending from the Sovereign Wealth Fund under its control between 2016 and 2019. Chairman of the committee, Oluwole Oke, gave the directive at an investigative hearing following an audit query issued by the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation against the ministry. The committee also demanded details of the expenditure, which it said was too heavy to be overlooked. At the hearing attended by representatives of the offices of the Accountant General of the Federation and the Auditor General of the Federation, the Finance Ministry, in comparing notes to the lawmakers, said it received and spent part of the alleged fund during the period, but denied receiving others. The committee also directed the ministry to liaise with the offices of the ACGF and the AUGF to reconcile the figures, which was 15 billion naira in 2016, 1.5 billion naira in 2017, 550 million naira in 2018, and 512 million naira in 2019, as contained in the audit query. That's the news. I am Palum David. Good morning.
Thanks for listening. Join us again for more updates on Eagles 102.3.